As of the time I'm making this video, we are currently heading into the summer season, which means that a lot of wholesale deals are going to be closed because, as you guys know, real estate transaction volume increases the most in the summertime, which means you guys have the greatest opportunity to get into the business starting now. Right now, this month alone in May, I'm on track to do over $130,000 in assignments. And guys, when I tell you the summer heats up, it heats up. Like, it gets very, very easy to find these deals because a lot of people want to move. A lot of people are comfortable making bigger decisions in their life. And now is the time to get into wholesale real estate. And in this video, I want to break down exactly how you're going to get into it. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly how to find a motivated seller, how to underwrite that property and give them an offer, how to negotiate with that seller, how to get them under contract, how to find an end buyer, how to get it assigned to an end buyer, and eventually get the deal closed. I'm going to go over every single thing. I'm not going to leave a single thing out. And you guys will know exactly how to wholesale real estate after you watch the entirety of this video. If this is your first time watching me and you don't know who I am, my name is Dylan Johnson. I've been in the wholesale game for about 3 years now. I started at the age of 17 during my junior year of high school. It took me about 7 months to close my first deal, and when I did, I made $20,000 profit. I put that back into the business, dropped out of high school during my senior year a couple months later, and since then have scaled my wholesale business up to over $100,000 a month. Nowadays, I'm currently leaning more towards the investor side. I'm actually looking to buy these properties, wholesale them, and flip them and put them on market myself, and I have the resources necessary to do this. But starting out, the easiest way by far to get into real estate is going to be wholesaling, and I'm going to go over that right now. Keep in mind, guys, when I started out, I had no experience, no licensing. I wasn't even 18 years old yet, and I'm still crushing it in this business every single month, and I literally don't even have a high school diploma. And guys, that is why wholesaling is the best way to get into real estate. Real estate is the best industry to be in overall. It creates the most amount of millionaires every single year because you're dealing with real life, tangible assets that everyone needs. Everyone always needs a house to live in. Every single business needs an office space to occupy. So there will always be a market for real estate. It will never go away, and that's why you need to be in the real estate industry if you want to actually get rich over time. Literally, regardless of what business model you are trying to pursue, it is always a good idea to pick up rentals, pick up flips, pick up development deals, and even do wholesaling on the side. You can set up your wholesale business to be completely automated. I currently wholesale, and I probably work about 2 hours a day. I just have to manage my sales team and work in the business a little bit. And why I would choose wholesaling instead of starting off by flipping or developing is because you need no licensing, no capital, and no connections in order to get started. You can literally just pick up the phone and start wholesaling today. The only problem with wholesaling is a lot of people teach it wrong, and that's why 99% of wholesalers fail. You have guys trying to start 3 businesses at once, lead generation, acquisitions, and dispo, and they have no system overall to actually structure everything. Let's say you tried to do that with flipping, but instead you had to put up a bunch of money and you had to wait 6 to 8 months for that flip to get done. You would probably go deeply into the negatives, and you would definitely lose a lot of money if you had no experience. But if you got into wholesaling first, that requires basically no money to start, you would easily be able to know exactly how a transaction goes, and you would have a lot more experience in doing that actual flip. That's why it's much easier to enter real estate as a wholesaler and then branch out into flipping and developing. Guys, what you're going to learn in this video is that wholesaling is as simple as just finding a motivated seller, getting them under contract, and assigning it to an end buyer. So let's say you find a seller at 100K, you find a buyer at 110K. If you take that to title, it actually goes through. You will get paid that $10,000 difference. You never buy it. You never have to put up your own money. You don't have to take a loan out. You are simply the middleman connecting the buyer and the seller, and that is literally the best part of wholesaling. It's that you're completely uninvolved from the process as far as financials go. And guys, we made it easy for you. We combined acquisitions, dispositions, and lead generation all in one, which I'm going to go over right now. And we also have a system that we directly implement for you. Stay tuned to the end of the video for that. But anyways, let's get into the actual training. I know you guys are waiting for it, so here we go. All right, guys, obviously now I'm on my computer. I'm going to show you guys exactly how you can wholesale step by step. There are 4 steps total. First is going to be finding a motivated seller. Second is going to be calculating your offer, underwriting the property, and then getting it signed. Third is going to be finding and qualifying a cash buyer. And then the final step, title process, back-end work, and actually closing the deals. I'm going to be going over a ton of information right now. So if you have a notebook, if you have a piece of paper, if you have a pen, start taking notes, because I promise you this information will literally make you hundreds of thousands of dollars if you actually apply it and if you genuinely listen to what I'm saying. First of all, to find motivated sellers in this day and age, in a traditional approach, you would cold call, you would drive for dollars, and you would door knock, because that's what most gurus preach nowadays. But the problem is that this stuff does not work anymore. The new era of wholesaling is paying for marketing. SMS, Google ads, pay-per-lead, meta ads, all of these things are 10 times better than doing all of those other things because of manual input. You cannot possibly put out enough volume in order to make those work. Sure, there are people that close deals cold calling and close deals driving for dollars. But the problem is that it's based on luck. 1 out of every 100 people will close deals with it. But why would I teach a unpredictable model? I only like to teach things that are actually predictable, where the majority of people will actually find success in, not just 1 in every 1,000, right? So in this video, I'm going to break down the best beginner marketing model to use, which is going to be SMS. So let's just get right into that. The first step of doing SMS is you're going to need to learn market analysis and pulling data. So first thing you're going to want to do is go to ChatGPT, ask it to find you 10 wholesale real estate markets to target. Very simple prompt, right? And then from there, you're going to target beginner friendly markets. So Alabama, Georgia, Florida, etc. Stay away from markets like Illinois, South Carolina, those markets that have a decent amount of restrictions. You can still wholesale in those markets. The only problem is that most beginners aren't going to know how to do it. So obviously you might as well just stay away from them. Plenty of people are closing deals in those other markets that I listed and like 20 other ones that aren't listed. Like you guys can find a market. The market is not the problem. It's always the wholesaler. There are wholesalers closing deals in every single market. Just think about it. There's flippers doing deals in every single market. So that means there can be wholesalers doing deals in every single market. Second step, we're going to be pulling our data from PropWire. So this is what PropWire looks like. From there, we're going to be skip tracing it with TitanSkip, and here are the filters that you are going to use. So these are the filters. First, you're going to do property type, single family, multifamily, and owner type. I don't know why it doesn't say it, but it should say individual. You don't want to be targeting corporations starting out. Years of ownership has to be over 2. You don't want to target people who just bought their property, and you want the estimated value to be under $600,000, so you're not targeting multi-million-dollar homes. Next, you're going to want to skip trace it using TitanSkip. Use the code FLIPS and you'll get 10% off your credits. TitanSkip is just the skip tracer I recommend just because it's the cheapest and it's relatively good quality. You could also go with Deal Machine. You could also go with PropStream. It really doesn't matter. Data doesn't really matter. It's not something that you should stress over. But I personally like to use TitanSkip because it's cost effective. It's the freshest possible skip tracing and you will have pretty accurate numbers. So that's why I use TitanSkip. Step 2 is going to be finding SMS providers. The best SMS provider that I personally use is obviously the one that I personally use, that we only give access to our students. So it skips A2P verification. There's no opt-out restrictions. There's no volume restrictions, and texting is less than 1%. If obviously you're not my student, you're not going to have access to this, right? So I'm going to list you some alternatives. You can do standard go high level with lead connector. Only problem with that is you're going to have to wait for A2P approval. And also you're going to have to deal with opt-out issues in the beginning. Your account will ramp up over time and you should be fine sending volume. But in the beginning, it might be rough. It might take you a month or 2 to get your feet wet in order to get the campaign actually rolling. And then from there, you'll be good. You could use Smarter Contact. It's just very expensive. And you could use Launch Control. But once again, very expensive. And I kind of cut your margins down a little bit. But if you have money to spend, go for it. All right. Step 3, you start marketing and the sales process. So once your list is uploaded, you need to understand the sales process, which is what I'm going to go over right now. Once they show interest, like initial interest from your text, you're going to call them and start the acquisitions call. And the acquisitions call will be structured as follows. And I'll go over that in a second after I show you the system. This is what it should look like, right? A bunch of texts are being sent out and people are responding like, what's your best offer? Teach me a little bit more about the condition of the property, that type of stuff. That's the type of system you want where it's easy, it's set up, and it's structured and it's organized, right? We don't want everything all over the place, bouncing between 3 CRMs. We want everything all in one system, which is obviously what I use. The introduction should go something like this. You want to introduce yourself in a professional and simple manner. So I would say something like, hey, my name is Dylan. I buy, 3 to 5 properties a month in this area. I was just calling about this one on 123 Main Street because it caught my eye as a potential investment. Just a little bit of background on us. Obviously, I buy these properties cash as investments. So if you have 10 to 15 minutes, I'd love to chat about this property to see if we could pick it up and take it off your hands. Introduction needs to be professional. You need to address who you are, what you want, and how long you need them for. Be super blunt, be super upfront, and you won't have to deal with any weird trust issues or anything like that later in the call. It's all about how you confidently perceive yourself. Next is going to be asking price. Make sure you pry this out of the seller. You're going to hear stuff like, well, you contacted me first or something like that. You need to realize that this is a smokescreen and you'll get around it by either hard framing or explaining your process. First, I'm going to go over explaining my process, right? Well, sir, I don't want you to waste your time or my time. And if your price that you have in mind is unreasonable, there's no point in us having a conversation. So with that being said, are you willing to share with me your goals with this property so I can let you know upfront if we can meet you near it? Or hard framing. Okay, I completely understand. Keep in mind, we are fronting all of the closing costs and fees, meaning our price is what you would walk away with in your pocket. With that in mind, our price is going to be near 60 to 70% of the Zillow value, depending on your repair cost and estimates. Is this near what you would accept as an offer? If they say yes, obviously move forward with the acquisitions call. If they say no, they're probably disqualified anyway. That's usually around the price that we need to get it locked at, give or take, a couple percentage points. I would hard frame in the instance where you're dealing with a guy who's super stern, but most of the time I'll just try and explain your process, right? You don't want to give them a rough estimate offer because most of the time that'll just scare people off. So always try and explain your process first. If you can't get to them with that, just hard frame it and move on. Next step is going to be condition. This is where you build all of your rapport, right? You can't get into the motivation step unless you build up a lot of rapport on the condition step, right? So you're going to ask the following questions about the property's condition while building rapport. And the whole goal during this phase is you want to be able to visualize what is actually going on in the property in your mind. If you can't in your mind actually visualize it, then you didn't do enough discovery, and you need to obviously ask more questions next time you get on the call. First thing you're going to ask is just a broad question. Walk me through the property's condition. Is there any major issues with it? Cool. Is there any repairs or updates done in the last 5 years? How's the foundation, bed, bath, square feet? How old's the roof? Any leaks on the roof? Age of the HVAC system, plumbing? What type of piping did they use? How is the electrical? Any rewiring needed? And a question I like to throw out is, if I give you $100,000 to make this house look like it was ready to be thrown on TV, what would you do to it? That'll give you a rough idea of what the condition is actually like, because obviously most people will say, oh, I don't really even need $100,000, and then they'll tell you about this, and then just break it down from there. And then finally, is there a loan on it, or is it free and clear? After you do the condition phase, which should take you 5 to 10 minutes, don't rush through it. Don't make your calls 2 minutes long. You need to have long, drawn out conversations with your sellers. You're going to need to break down their why as far as their motivation, right? And you need rapport prior to actually touch on this step. And make sure you always dig past surface level. So if they say something like, oh, I just want cash for the property, well, why do they want that cash? Are they trying to invest that cash? Are they looking to move out of the state? What are they actually doing with that money? And apply that same logic to any other type of motivation, oh, I just want to move out. Oh, okay. Why are you moving out? Are you visiting family? Discover their urgency, right? Figure out why they actually need to make a move and touch on that topic. Make them visualize it, make them realize it. And that's how you're going to build that urgency to actually get the deal done. Spend 3 to 5 minutes on this topic. If it's a sensitive topic, like someone just got this, someone just, passed away or something like that, then obviously be very personable, be human, have a soul. Don't just go into this thinking you're just going to make a bunch of money. You actually have to have conversations with people. You actually have to be able to sympathize. And that is ultimately what is going to get you closed deals. If people like you, they're going to sell to you. And then wrap it all up with the timeline. How long are you looking to take to get this deal done? Ideally, we want to be under 30 days, but if they need a little bit longer, obviously we can accommodate. It could be a follow-up, something like that. Step 2 is going to be calculating your offer, so underwriting, and then finally getting the property signed. First step, I'm going to go over a couple terms that you need to know. That way you don't feel lost in any of the steps, and then I'm going to explain the actual underwriting process. First is going to be comparative property, or a comp. This is a similar property of deferring condition. So example, our subject property is a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,000 square foot. Regardless of condition, any nearby 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,000 square feet properties would be considered a comparative. Turnkey basically means a property that is completely remodeled. Rental grade is a property that is ready to be rented out. Rehab is a property that's in need of a full rehab. Full gut is a property that needs to be completely gutted, down to the studs. ARV is our ideal number of what the property is worth after it is fully renovated and placed back on the MLS. The MLS is the multiple listing service, which is the open real estate market accessible by realtors. The MAO is our max allowable offer calculated by our underwriting to the seller. The underwriting equation is, as a general rule of thumb, we are going to calculate our MAO with this following equation. It's going to be ARV times 0.7 minus repairs minus assignment fee. And guys, remember that 0.7 number can change dependent on market condition, ARV, etc. The 70% is what creates our investor their spread. So lending costs, profit, closing costs, etc. are all taken into account in this discount. That is why we need properties at 70%. We can't just lock properties up at 80, 85% because there's not enough spread for the seller. They're not going to be able to buy the deal, and we're not going to be able to get paid. Some higher ARV homes, like 450K plus, we can run our equation at 72.5 to 80%, especially if they're in a really good market, where the holding costs won't be that long. We can play around with that a little bit, but usually that 0.7 variable stays stagnant unless obviously there's a special instances. Now I'm going to teach you exactly how to open up Zillow and comp out a property with a live example. So step 1 is obviously open and set up Zillow. Go on Zillow and find the subject property. Here we have 5527 Hamilton Ave in Cincinnati. And we are going to open it in 2 tabs. So duplicate the tab, use 1 tab to reference our subject property, and use 1 tab to find comps. Our subject property is going to be right here. So zoom into the subject property's location and don't stray too far from where the subject property is on the map to find your comp. So ours is right here. So we're going to stay relatively within the same area, right? Then we're going to set our filters. So sold 5-bed and then sold in last 6 months. Obviously our property is a 5-bed. So we're going to choose 5-bed. If your property is a 3-bed, choose 3-bed, and always make sure you're doing sold in last 3 to 6 months. If you're in a more active market, 3 months will be best. But in most markets, you're going to have to do last 6 months to find comps, right? And step 2 of this is going to be finding and actually analyzing those comps. So now we are finding properties that are on our map with our filters outlined and then using them as reference for our ARV. So I have 2 comps right here. Here's a 5-3 in the area that has a renovated interior, more similar in build age to our subject property, but it is smaller square foot. This is going to be the low end of our ARV, but it's a more applicable comp than this one, as you guys will see. Here's a 5-bed, 3-bath property that is a lot nicer than our subject property. It has a renovated interior. It has more square foot. It has an attached garage. It has a brick exterior. It's landscaped. It's built early or newer. And this comp isn't going to be extremely strong, but we can use that as a top end reference. So as you can see here, I chose this property as an example for a reason, because oftentimes you're not going to be able to find perfect comps. So I'm showing you guys what it looks like to guesstimate, right? To estimate what the ARV actually is. So right now we have low end 230, high end 385. So with those 2 properties, we can already assume that our property is hovering around the high 200s to low 300s for the ARV. To get a more exact estimate, we're going to broaden our filters and we're going to look at some 4-beds to solidify our number. So guys, here's the image that I'm looking at. Based on this image, we can see that properties in this area that are 4-beds are selling for around $300,000. This will solidify our ARV to be around the 300 to 310 marker because our property is a bit bigger than the average property, but it lacks curb appeal, so we can't inflate it too much. Obviously, our property looks like this. It's not the most appealing property of all time. So that's why we have to undershoot a little bit. Realistically, you could argue 320, 330, but in this case, I'm going on the safe end, 300 to around 310. Next step is going to be calculating repair costs. I don't own this rehab calculator. I just recommend it because it's pretty good. It's easy to use. And I recommend you guys use this calculator for this step. Obviously, with more advanced wholesalers and flippers, you guys should be able to guess based on past experience. And, if you have any type of contractor experience, that's going to help. But for beginners, just use this. Next, you're going to use the equation. So it's pretty simple from here. It's literally just plug and play. Let's say for this property, we had a $50,000 rehab budget. We used a random property, so obviously we're just going to estimate. Now we're going to plug this property into our equation. So ARV times 0.7 minus repairs minus assignment. 300K times 0.7 minus 50,000 minus 10,000 puts us at $150,000 MAO to the seller, and the $10,000 gives us margin to assign it. We are projected to make 10K profit on this deal with this underwriting as wholesalers. And guys, as far as actually giving this offer to the seller, never open up at your MAO, right? If I was to call this guy and tell him his offer, I would start out around 130 to 135. The reason being is because you need room to negotiate up. Hey, what's going on, John? I got your offer approved by our underwriters and it's coming back at 135. Oh, okay, you can't do 135, but you can come down to 170. Okay, sounds good. Let me put you on a brief hold. Let me see if we can come up a little bit. With that being said, are you, firm completely on that 170, or can you come down a little bit if we can make things work? Obviously, do your best to negotiate. That's part of the negotiation process. Trick here is obviously just rapport, right? If the person likes you, they're going to be more willing to make things work with you. They're going to be more willing to hear you out. But if you have terrible rapport with the seller, they're just going to be like, oh, this guy's just trying to lowball me. He's trying to, get a quick property, get some quick cash, and he's trying to make a profit off me, right? You don't want them to think that at all. You want them to think that you're actually there to help them, because ultimately that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help them out of a hard situation, right? And they need to understand that in order for us to be able to accurately negotiate. There's no secret to negotiation. It's literally just being confident, having a good amount of rapport, and you will be able to negotiate just fine. There's no special word tracks you use or special words you use in order to get the seller to actually close on the number you want. It just doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, I wish it did. But it doesn't, right? So I would open up at 135, get them off hold, go up to 140, 145, and eventually land at 150. If they don't accept the 150, you put them in a follow-up campaign, move on to the next deal. Never stay stagnant on deals, always keep moving on. Next step is going to be finding and qualifying a cash buyer. Obviously, once you get this property locked up, send them out the purchase and sale agreement. If you need a purchase and sale agreement, I'll link it in the first link in the description down below. That way you guys have it. It's free. It also comes with a calculator, I believe, and also an assignment contract. So if you need any contracts at all, you find them in the description. They're there for free. They're the ones I use every single time I send out a contract, obviously. And yeah, I give them away for free. Once you get the property locked up, you fill out that contract. This step 3 is going to be finding and qualifying your cash buyer, right? I'm going to go over some more basic terms so you guys know what they mean. Assignment is assigning all rights to your original PSA to the end buyer. A title company is a middleman that handles the title search process and sending out wires. The EMD is earnest money deposited by the end buyer or the wholesaler in good faith. Closing attorney, some states are attorney states, meaning an attorney is needed to close and prepare deeds. JV, one party finds the buyer, one party finds the seller. This is basically an agreement between two wholesalers, usually done at 50-50 assignment fee. End buyer terms, you need to explain this to the buyer so that they understand what's going on. They're going to pay all the closing costs, transfers, tax, and title fees. They also take over all liability of our PSA, and we simply get paid an assignment fee for them or for sourcing them the deal. Their EMD is non-refundable, meaning if they mess up the deal, we keep the EMD and get a mini assignment. So what I mean by that example is EMD with the sellers at 1K, EMD on the assignments at 5K. We pocket that 4K difference in case of the buyer backing out and not performing at closing. Also, guys, with this, most states are going to need a pre-signed release for you to keep your EMD. So make sure you either have the end buyer pre-sign this release or double check with your title company that they will release you your funds, or else you're not going to actually get that EMD. Next step from there, once you understand the terms, is you're going to create a deal sheet. I found this one using ChatGPT. You can screenshot it, you could use it, or you could just generate another one. And this is what I send out actual vetted buyers. I don't send this to random people, right? I only send this deal sheet to people who I know are actually vetted, people who I know actually have the funds to close, and people who I know actually buy real estate. And this is exactly how you're going to find those people using Facebook. Believe it or not, Facebook is the best way to sell deals as a beginner. So marketing the deal, which is going to be on your first day of inspection. Obviously, you're going to use Facebook. Join a Facebook group of an area. So like, for example, Cleveland cash buyers, and post the following message. I have a deal in XYZ. ARV is this, asking this. DM me for more details. Keep it very broad. The key of this is generating a lot of buyer leads, but vetting out the buyers thoroughly. So anyone who gets access to your deal sheet should be hitting the following criteria. Like I said, they send you proof of funds, they send you past flip experience, and they sound like they know what they're talking about. Always get on the phone with your buyers before you send them a deal sheet, by the way. You want to make sure you're actually talking to someone who sounds like they know what they're doing. If they don't sound like they know what they're doing, they probably don't know what they're doing, and they're probably just trying to either daisy chain your deal or waste your time. You will know when you're talking to a BSer or a real buyer. It is literally common sense. So just vet them properly, never give someone rights to double assign, and make sure they deposit that EMD the first day of assignment. Make sure the buyer understands the terms of the deal so that the EMD is hard. Cover all the closing costs, title fees, transfer tax, closing needs to be on a respective date, etc. Don't let these guys waste your time. Stay firm on your terms. You have the leverage as the wholesaler. I always love to say this because no wholesaler understands this. They always try and let buyers pull strings and try and like play little things past them and try and get price drops and all this. You are bringing them the deal, right? They have no business. They make no money if it's not for you, right? So you could literally say, okay, I completely understand your concern. The only thing is I found this deal, right? I can find another buyer. You're replaceable. This deal is not. If you want it, you can buy it. If not, I'm going to find another buyer. I've said that multiple times, and it's got buyers to close. They don't bullshit me anymore, and they obviously know what I'm talking about. Next step, once you find a buyer or buyers, you're going to be setting up walkthroughs. So this is days 1 through 5 in your inspection period. The buyer is going to be framing themselves as one of the following. So contractor, inspector, or a partner, unless the seller knows you're wholesaling, of course. We only set up walkthroughs for properties we have under contract. Don't send people out to deals that aren't locked up unless it's a very specific instance, and make sure the buyer takes pictures of the property and sends them to you. If they don't send pictures of the property, what's going to happen is you're not going to actually know if you have leverage or not, and they could say anything, right? They could say the repair costs are $100,000 more than they actually are, but you don't have pictures to actually confirm that. So make sure they send pictures and videos so that you know what type of condition the property is actually in before you take their word for it. Next is going to be a tenant, or what types of walkthroughs there are. There's 3 types. One is going to be a tenant occupied walkthrough. First thing you're going to do is get the tenant's contact information and figure out a time a property will be available for a brief walkthrough. With tenant occupied properties, walkthroughs are usually limited, so we have to properly vet our buyers or just get multiple buyers to walk it the first time. Additionally, if there are multiple units that are occupied, make sure each tenant is aligned so that all units can be thoroughly walked at the same time. Make sure the seller tells you the backstory of the tenant. Do they know the property is being sold? Also, ideally, we want the tenant to be vacant prior to closing, so make sure the tenant is on board with that and has a plan in mind as far as after closing. Next step, or next, I guess you could say, like, situation would be owner occupied properties. So set up properties, walk through directly with the owner. Wow, that was a terrible way to say those words, but don't send out too many buyers or set up too many walkthroughs, or else the seller will get, weirded out. Obviously, you're already talking to the guy. It's very simple to set up an owner occupied walkthrough. I don't think I really need to talk about that much. You obviously just tell them when they're going to get out, have them meet them there. Same thing, pictures, videos, and move on. The best case scenario is a lockbox. This is the best situation to be in because you can just have buyers go in and go out, go in, go in, out, whenever they want. So ideally, ask the seller if the property can be placed on lockbox if it's vacant. If not, then you'll deal with having to meet them out there. But best case, like I said, lockbox. And this will allow you the most freedom as far as marketing your deal. Next step is obviously once you find a buyer, you agree to a price, you are going to send them the assignment contract. That is found in the description below, like I said. And this is before the inspection period ends. You don't want to wait until after the inspection ends because then you're liable for EMD. So make sure you have a buyer put down a reasonable EMD. So for a $100,000 house, 5K EMD is reasonable. Just keep it around 5%. Obviously, if it's a $1 million house, they don't need to put down 50K. 10K is fine. Just kind of play with it around a little bit. Just get a significant amount of money that shows that they're actually serious about purchasing the deal. That way, if they default on it, you will still make back your marketing dollars and just assign it to another buyer. Kind of guarantee you make a little bit of money. Finally, the last step, which is the title process, back-end work, and closing. This is very simple, right? You will open title by contacting a local title company or closing attorney and emailing them the PSA, assignment, any other addendums, and requesting a title search. To find a good title company or a good attorney, you simply just the location, right? So let's say we're working in Philadelphia space title companies. From there, call around, find one that's familiar with assignments. If they sound nice, if they sound friendly, work with them. It doesn't have to be a long drawn out process in finding an attorney or a title company. Very simple. They just have a chat on the phone. If they work with wholesalers or if they have worked with wholesalers in the past, you're fine. This is what your email should look like. This is one I sent out a couple days ago. So title order, obviously the address. Attached is our original PSA, addendum, and our assignments. Please send EMD instructions to our buyer. And then obviously I attached the change in terms addendum, the purchase and sale agreement, the assignment agreement, and the pre-signed release of EMD. Like I said, some states require that. Make sure you know. Once the title search is ordered via this email right here, title will also work alongside the buyer's lender to get approvals and funding squared away. This process usually takes 7 to 14 days, which falls perfectly into our 30-day close. This can happen sooner or later depending on if the property passes title search clean or if they have other people, liens, back taxes, etc. found on title. Once the lending is approved, title will be sent cleared, or title will send you a clear to close and closing date will be set. During this process, make sure you keep the seller in contact every 2 to 3 days. Even if you do not have an update, please update them. Hey, we're working on contractor quotes. Hey, we're working on sending someone out, etc. Don't leave your sellers in the dark or else they will end up backing out and you'll lose out on your assignment fee. And that is exactly in 4 steps how to close a wholesale real estate deal. Don't overcomplicate it, but it is not an easy process. I'm not saying it's easy at all, but it is incredibly simple. I literally built it out on this one sheet right here. A beginner could read this and fully close a deal within a couple months. I promise you that. And guys, just to show you that this is not just me and Hunter winning and wholesaling, let's take Janir, one of my students, for example. He went from literally working at Finish Line, this is him in the fitting room putting on his work outfit, to now doing over $100,000 in wholesaling this year. Here's a complete HUD of him making $25,000. You can double check everything here if you want. He is absolutely killing it. His biggest month was over $50,000, and obviously Janir is a killer. He's going to scale. He's very focused on his business, very talented at what he does. He's an extremely hard worker, and he made it work. He literally went from dead broke 9 to 5 to dropping out of college, moving across the country, and actually succeeding in wholesale real estate. This is something anybody can do. And guys, he is not the only one. We could take Spencer, for example, who was at $0. He was struggling to get deals closed to making $55,000 this month. He just FaceTimed me today and told me he was on track to do $55K this month. I was absolutely astonished, and that was all within 6 months. Or Kyle, He went from $0. He got kicked out of school. I just filmed a video with him a couple videos back. Within 5 months, he closed over $40,000 in deals. And as of right now, he has over 10 deals in escrow that should make him another $40,000 to $50,000. Or we could take Brion, who is very similar situation. All of these guys are like the same age, right? 18 to 23 years old. Brion, $0. He was grinding side hustles and he closed $30,000 worth of deals in 3 months. Anybody can do this. It doesn't matter if you have experience or if you have licensing or if you're already in real estate or if you're not. Everybody can close deals. This is a business model that anybody can get into. I promise you. I'm a high school dropout and I succeeded in this business. These people are all either a dropout or never attended college, and they are all killing it in wholesaling. If you guys want your handheld just like these guys, first link in the description will be a link to apply to work with us. It'll take you 60 seconds to complete. I will personally review your application. If it looks good, you'll get on a call, see if it's the right fit. If it's the right fit, we'll get you set up on all of our systems, all of our marketing, get you access to our buyers, and get you killing it just like everyone's shown. That's enough of that. You guys already know the business model works now. Now I'm going to break down a deal that I have done and show you guys exactly how it works from start to finish. And this one's a very unique scenario, so I want you guys to pay close attention to how I got this one done. And all right, this is going to be a breakdown of an $18,000 deal I did. This one was in New Jersey. The reason why I chose this one is because it had a very unique situation, which you guys will see in the end. I chose this one in particular simply because I know you guys will learn a lot from it. So here you are. Here's the $18,000 wire. There was a little bit of a fee that we had to cover. That's why it says $19,000, but less late fees HOA, which I'll show you in a second. It's supposed to be $19K, ended up making $18K. Stage one was obviously the marketing, so finding the motivated seller. This one came in from a Google ad. The cost per the deal was about $2 to $3K. The tips for success that I have for Google ads, if you are looking to run Google ads, you need to have a good lander, you need to have good pixel tracking, you need to have correct spend, so don't underspend on Google campaigns. You need to spend at least like $6 to $10K a month in order to see results from them, or else you just won't be getting enough lead flow to be able to track anything or anything like that. And also make sure you have good speed to lead, make sure you're staying up to date with your leads as much as possible, and proper systems and proper backend, which you'll see comes into play right here. So stage two, the acquisitions. Obviously, I did the seller call, I did the acquisitions call, and I did the offer call, but it was what it took to actually get on those calls, which is what's special about this deal. So obviously, here, did you give up on selling? This was me hitting him up and asking if he even wanted to sell anymore, because it took 2 weeks of constant calling and constant contact to actually get on the phone with this guy. And as you can see, he was a little mad. He said no, but if it's a different number all the time, I'm not sure who is messaging or calling. Pick a number and stick with it. Also, leaving messages is beneficial. He was not happy with us, but at the end of the day, we helped him out. We got the deal done, so it was all good. In this exact scenario, I don't know why, but my go high level was all messed up and it was messing up what numbers we were calling off of. So it did mess up this deal a little bit, but ultimately, obviously after 2 weeks of constantly following up with this guy, got him on the phone, called him 2 to 3 times a day and texts, and finally got him to get on the call. Stage 3 was negotiation. So originally this guy was asking for 220. We used our negotiation tactics that I was explaining earlier in the video to get him down all the way to 178.5. For Dispo, I sold this one to a guy that I met in New Jersey at a meetup, believe it or not. In smaller, more dense states like New Jersey, this happens all the time. In more rural states, it's a little bit harder because people buy farther out, but obviously met this guy. We already had rapport, sent him the deal, and then got it assigned the next day after getting it assigned. This one was very simple, except for the TC work. And this is where the unique situation appears that I think you guys will learn a lot from. In the TC work here, we had HOA issues. So the seller didn't even know HOA existed, right? And when you are owning a property in an HOA, a homeowners association, you have to pay dues and you have to pay fees. He never knew it existed, so he was never paying these fees. So in order to close, we need to get these fees released off of the title. And to do this, we had to call the HOA. It was a very old lady, so it was a very annoying process to deal with this lady to try and get these fees removed. But we called him up, negotiated with the HOA to bring his late fees down, and then we split the cost of the remaining fees with the seller. I believe he had about $10,000 in HOA fees that were on his property as a lien, and we ended up negotiating the HOA all the way down to $2,000. And the reason why we were able to negotiate is because this property in specific was a little bit torn down, right? It was messing up the community a little bit. It was lowering the other homes around its value. And we told them that we were selling this to an investor, right? They wanted to fix this property up. They wanted to make this property look nice, make all of the other homes around it look 10 times better because the yard was going to look all nice and everything like that. HOA approved it. Obviously, they want all the other houses in the area to look great as well. And we ended up getting the late fees down. It was about $2,000. We split 1K us, 1K the seller. That's why we made 18K instead of 19K. The title company we used was very understanding and helpful throughout the process. best title company in New Jersey, hands down. It did get done at the end of the day. Right. And I hope you guys can learn a lot from that. It's not always going to go smooth A to Z. Sometimes you got to constantly follow up the leads. Sometimes you got to be calling them 2 to 3 times a day. And sometimes you're going to even face issues on the back end where you'll have to negotiate with people that aren't even the seller, which before this, I didn't even know existed. Right. So this was a learning experience for me, but ended up getting it done and obviously made my $18,000, called it a day. Now that you guys know the 4 steps, theoretically you could go solo and start wholesaling completely by yourself. The problem is that most people take those steps and they try and build 3 separate businesses at once, like I said in the beginning of the video: lead generation, dispo, and acquisition. And then what that does is it makes you get stuck on one thing. You can't get your marketing to properly run, your leads are bad, or you can't find buyers, or you just can't get sellers to the closing table. Or you could take the second approach, which everyone who is successful has done. They hired a mentor. They got somebody to help them in their corner from day one. Think about it this way. You'll have marketing completely set up for you in week 2. You already know it's proven. Leads are already coming in. You'll have a buyer network of over 6 million vetted active buyers from day 1. You'll have coaching and underwriting live on every single one of your deals. So you never have to second guess your numbers. You just give out offers and close those sellers. Take every single part of the business for you, merge them together so it's all structured in one simple system that all you have to do is follow and execute. To give you guys a glimpse of what you get full training on the entire business taught to you in order. You get coaching directly from me and Hunter every single week personally. We never hire a coach or do any of that. You literally speak only to us. Like I said, you get marketing built out in your first 2 weeks. So if you want to run ads, if you want to do VAs, if you want to run SMS, we will build that out for you and make sure that system is properly in place. So get 6 million plus vetted active buyers, and every single one of your deals I will review personally and make sure the numbers are correct so that you never have to second guess yourself and terminate contracts. If you guys want to apply, click on the link below. All you gotta do is answer a few questions, pick your time on the calendar, and book in. I directly review every single one of the applications. So if you do get denied or your call gets canceled, chances are I just didn't think you were the right fit based on your form fill out. So make sure you answer very truthfully and honestly so you don't get automatically disqualified. And guys, this is a very limited program. We only take on about 10 to 15 students every single month. The reason being is because our time is limited. We are doing the coaching ourselves. We are doing the implementation ourselves. And obviously our time is not infinite. So we can't just continuously add more and more clients. And keep in mind that this is for people of every single skill level. If you are a beginner, we will start you off at the beginning. We will review your sales calls. We will make sure you are caught up to speed on that and then directly implement the marketing for you on week 2. Or if you're more of an intermediate, like you got into wholesaling, but you've just been failing and wasting money on marketing, we'll lock your marketing in, make sure you're actually spending money on the right things, and then from there, train you on every single thing you need to know in order to make deals not fall through. Or let's say you're already doing 3 to 5 plus deals every single month. I personally do 10 to 15 deals every month. I've been in that exact situation, and scaling up from there is insanely easy. Those are the type of people I love to work with the most. If you are already doing deals, I can basically guarantee that I'll double your revenue within a couple months. So guys, if that interests you at all, apply below. It'll take you 60 seconds and I'll see you on that call.